Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or older in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
That's a word, right? Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's June 10th, 2025. And this is episode 121. Some of the kids call it uno, dos, uno. So we'll go with that, I guess. I don't know. We're going to,
You're just starting out with a bang today.
I know.
This is wonderful. And we need to let folks know we're going to try a 20 seconds. Boy, we'll be done quick today.
I'm almost done now. So
we're going to do 3 20-minute segments.
Yes.
Seconds, minutes, segments. I don't know. Anyhow, 3 20-minute segments this time around. We're going to see how good that works for us.
I wasn't even going to tell them. I bet they wouldn't even notice.
There
was a thing that that we had forgotten about since the election. It was the whole word salad stuff that Auntie Kamala would do. Anyway, so we have we're bringing back that segment just at least for this week, and it is called
It's Auntie Kamala's Wisdom of the Week.
So I was willing to give up whatever might be the trackings of Kamala Harris's particular fondness for nacho cheese Doritos for the sake of getting a big bag of Doritos as I watched the Oscars. But here's the thing. At what point do we also uplift and highlight the consumer's right to also expect, and you can debate with me if it should be a right. I think it should.
what?
To expect that the innovation would also be weighted in terms of solving their everyday problems, which are beyond my craving for Doritos, but about whatever, and I know the work is happening around, the scientific discoveries, for example, to cure long-standing diseases. But I'm going to throw out another one. And you all, again, please get back to me any information you have. I would love it if there would be an investment of resources in solving the affordable housing issue in America.
If a jigsaw puzzle could be a couple of sentences, that would be... What?
Holy crap! We went from this is great. I ordered some Doritos to watch the Oscars with.
Did she have the munchies? She'd been hanging out with Hunter.
And so now it's like this is so great. I just love you, man. It's just the typical up and down from you're up here, and it's I've been thinking about this, and I was just like, what the hell?
You're right. It's not even just changing subjects; it's changing pitch. The whole thing.
It goes from being excited about, oh, this is so funny, and it really is something you need. What?
I didn't think I'd really say this, but I have missed this verbal diarrhea stuff that is normally come out. But they keep wheeling her out. So we're gonna continue this as long as it takes. 220, 221, whatever it takes. That came up off the air. We were talking about that. That was Mr. Mom. If you
it was Mr. Mom, and I'm going to do some remodeling. So you're rewiring. Huh? What is it going to be for you? It's 220, 221, whatever it takes. Yeah, you don't have a clue now what you're talking about.
Apparently that.
Oh my God, that just reminded me of talking to a friend in a bar years ago who was just totally plowed and would be all excited, and they try to be, well, this, I'm serious, man. Stop it. What the hell?
Well, it's like when Joe would yell, and then he'd get up close to the mic and he'd whisper to you, yeah, we're getting the economy together. It's like, you are just...
I'm sure glad that wasn't liquid and fueled speech he was trying to.
No, couldn't have. I wonder if Nancy's looking for her vodka. That's all I'm saying.
I've seen it twice, and then listening to it again, it just cracks me up because it's like, really? Do you not think you can tell?
I personally can't hear it enough. I love it. I really do. Oh, okay. My goodness. Well, anyway, moving on to actual stuff that we can talk about. Everyone is concerned about the economy, as we should be, but we hear numbers coming at us from the liberal media, the mainstream media that, it doesn't. They like to twist those numbers because they hate Trump so much. Orange man bad. Larry Kudlow, who I respect quite a bit, broke it down for us a few days ago, and he had a little bit of a different message. But here's Larry's breakdown.
Let's start with the economy, where today's jobs report showed solid gains across the board, with a special emphasis on the private sector. Meanwhile, federal government jobs have fallen 59,000 since January. How about that? Reprivatizing the economy, according to Treasury man Scott Bessent. Now, if you're a blue-collar production worker, your overall wages, that's aggregate hours worked plus the wage increase, that comes to over 4%, which is twice the sinking inflation rate, really down to 2.1%. Meanwhile, unemployment, a low 4.2%. Latest GDP now from the Atlanta Fed, looking for a 3.8% growth in Q2. And in the stock market, the S&P 500 is now touching 6,000, and the Dow is approaching 43,000. Ain't that something? So Democrats and their friends in the left-wing media, eat your hearts out. There is no recession. There is no spiking inflation. What there is the makings of a Trump boom. Tariff and trade negotiations are moving ahead. Even the CBO now expects nearly $3 trillion in tariff-related revenues, which can finance tax cuts. And speaking of one big, beautiful bill, Elon Musk's unfortunate temper tantrum will not prevent the Republican momentum to clear the bill by July. Tremendous investment incentives for full expensing, lower small business taxes, lower individual taxes, all be put to work with the trillions of foreign investment expected to flow into America as a result of President Trump's efforts. Invest your money here, and you'll get the lowest tax and regulatory environment in the world, plus cheap energy, and you won't have to pay any tariffs. How about that? And it all adds up to a significant growth dividend. And once again, let me put up my one big, beautiful bill deficit reduction table that shows the possibility of an $8.5 trillion reduction in the federal deficit, riding on top of a 3% growth dividend with $1.7 trillion in mandatory savings and the $2.8 trillion in expected tariff revenues.
Well, I mean, he sounds very bullish. I'm glad to hear that he's that optimistic. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, all of the points that he had makes it real difficult to go, nah, it's that. Exactly. Oh, well, those are all points you got from the. Yeah, I don't know how that, and I forget what the CBO stands for. Is that
Congressional Budget Office? Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah,
yeah. The CBO.
I looked at it and I went. All of a sudden, yesterday, my brain just went. Yeah, we got rid of that acronym. What? No, we don't know what it is now.
They're not immune from having things politicized, though. But for the most part, I mean those are real numbers. I mean, so I don't see where anything that he brought up there could be disputed. And if those tariffs, if they stay in place, is going to take care of $8 trillion in these budget cuts or in these tax cuts that the American people are going to enjoy once they become permanent, semi-permanent, because the next president, if he's a Democrat, they're going to probably undo everything. So, I mean, I think that's I'm optimistic. If Larry's optimistic, I'm optimistic. Yeah. So I like it.
And he was getting his numbers from not just one source. He was talking this one and over here and the CBO and there have been times, especially when there was another president of a different political persuasion.
Yes.
Boy, am I being way too kind.
You are
and
nice.
They'd go, here are the numbers. Wink, wink. And it's like, No, that's not right. No.
Anyway, even Morning Joe over at MSNBC has seemingly tried to be more logical and practical in their approach, at least towards the economics part of the Trump administration. But here they are talking to Senator Kennedy about this bill, this big, beautiful bill that's in the Senate right now, but as we speak. Here's that.
We're also in uncharted territory on our national debt, $37 trillion. It's just exploded exponentially over the past 20 years or so.
Yep.
Do you have any hope that Congress can be responsible, that the House and the Senate can somehow figure out how to at least bend the line where we start moving back toward a balanced budget?
Sure. I mean, I'm an optimist. I'm a paranoid optimist. But in the last year, certainly the last 100 to 150 days, the conversation up here has changed. Under President Biden, the conversation was basically who needs to pay more in taxes. The conversation now, really on both sides of the aisle, quietly more of the Democrats, is what the hell happened to the money? Elon Musk makes a valid point. We have become, or will become, if we don't do something about it, debt slaves. Mr. Musk says that we need to relearn the magical healing power of no. He's right. But you're not going to be able to do it in one bill. You're just not. That's just practical, political, and frankly, economic reality.
So, I mean, of course, you can't fix it all in one time. It took us, I mean, I remember when Reagan was in office, I think we talked about this last week, when it hit $3 trillion back 40 years ago, they were like, everybody was freaking out because it was $3 trillion. Now it's at 37. So, I mean, it took a long time for us to get here. So I think that's Senator Kennedy's point.
Well, and the different persuasion, other side on the lefty Libby side, they wanted, well, you said you were going to do this. It's barely been 130 days for crying out loud. You didn't do anything in 4 years. I started to say a bad word. In 4.
No.
That was on the flag. Editing. And you're saying, well, nothing, it's not happening. It's been 100 days. They haven't done anything yet. It's still really.
Man, look at everything that's happening right now. And we're going to talk about this later as far as the riots in California and everything. But it's like, with ICE agents doing their job, which they didn't do for the last 4 years, and different things that's going on. I mean, how can you not sit back and go, I see a lot of positive changes. These things should be happening. The economy and with him and Elon, we're going to get into that later too. But I mean, I just don't know. I think part of that is the EV mandate that Biden put in place that has been rescinded in this bill. That could be what got underneath Elon's skin. Who knows?
Might as well be rescinded. They can't sell them.
No, they're all sitting on the lot.
They're just sitting there. They were mandated to build all these electric cars, and people went, no, I don't want that.
I mean, Tesla has actually sold quite a bit, but I mean, if you're looking at Dodge or some of the other companies, Ford, I think I've seen 2 Ford Mustangs that are the EV, and it's like you just don't see them. And they've been out now for 2 years. I mean, you just don't see them. And
what I think's funny about the Ford Mustang EV is they have little speakers under the back so that when you gas it, it still has the Ford Mustang
does
sound.
It really? Oh, I never even noticed that.
I think it's an option you can get or something. I just went, you gotta be kidding me.
And they're really, I don't understand why they made them so ugly. I mean, they look like the Ghia, the Mustang Ghia from 1978 or whatever year it was. I think it was 77. They were terrible. Mustang went through a couple of bad turn.
That Mustang 2 was a joke.
Oh my goodness gracious. It was awful. But I mean, then they came back and everything is fine. Now they built this thing. It's like, why? I just don't understand why they have to run it through an ugly mud fence or something in order to make it. I just don't get it. But anyway.
It was an edict from Biden that has to be done. So they had to figure out something. Okay, we can make it fit in that. Here you go. Yeah. And I think I sent you a deal where a gal was making that speech. Did we play that last week? I think. Yeah, where she was talking about it's going where this is someone who her office is all, alternate electricity and
Oh
it's all
yeah,
solar, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, and then she come to find out, oh, you have to have a bunch of kids picking up the cobalt and slave labor doing stuff and the humongous hole and how much dirt you have to move for one car. She goes, this is not
And that's the
at
thing. It's
all.
like nobody's looking ahead to that. I mean, you got to think about these kids or the young people or whatever. I saw some pictures of look like the kids are like 6, 7, 8 years old. I mean, gathering this cobalt with their bare hands. They're not going to live much past 30 probably because of all
If
that.
that, yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about a lot of effects down the road. I mean, you're going to wipe out a whole generation just so somebody can drive an electric car. It's just insane.
And so to find out what a farce it is, we have something later in the program from 1992 that if you didn't know it was 92, you would swear it was today.
You'd have no idea. If you didn't know who this person was, you'd think it was today. Absolutely.
Yep.
Anyway, there's been some riots in L.A., if you haven't noticed.
No, it's just peacefully letting it know that they don't want to go back to the country of the flags that they're waving.
Yeah, exactly. Make that make sense. It's like, we don't want to be deported back to wherever, but you're going to wave that flag and burn the American flag. It's one of these things. It's not like the other. Anyway, I saw a video of them throwing rocks at the officers and their vehicles, setting things on fire in L.A. And anyway, I guess it's happening in San Francisco, New York. It's the usual suspects. I think some of these people, and I know that we were talking off the air that a lot of these are paid agitators.
Oh, yeah. Someone found the ads on Craigslist, and they're paid quite well, depending upon how much you agitate or how professional of an agitator you are. I don't know how that works. You can get $12,000 a week.
That's
if you're a rookie, you only get paid $6,000 a week. Sorry.
Oh, how are you going to make it on that in LA? I mean, it might be like 600 a week around here. I don't know. Anyway, the president has deployed 2,000 National Guard troops to help and some Marines to help the National Guard troops as well. But the media, go ahead.
The guard deployment went up to 4,000 and it's
really?
700 Marines.
Okay.
Don't ask me why I remember the numbers. I just do.
That's great. I haven't read any of the news this morning, so I'm behind it a little bit. But the media is talking about this in typical media ways. It does remind me of how they reported on these riots in 2020. But anyway, here's a couple of clips of how the media is reporting on these mostly peaceful protests.
Look, on one level, protests are always about images, about spectacle. You might even say it's about theater. And we are seeing that play out in LA. And I think it's valuable to have that perspective as we see some of these pictures, especially as we zoom out and we recognize that the unrest is isolated, is not overtaking the entire city of LA. LA is home to millions of people, most of whom are having a normal day here on Sunday.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
Demonstrations had been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were...
It sounded peaceful to me. They're just having
They're
fun.
just having fun watching cars burning, mostly police cars, I might add.
I mean, that's what I do on the weekends. I'll go burn a car and roast some marshmallows.
I can't tell you how many I've lit on fire.
I know. Sometimes you get gasoline on the marshmallows and you got to throw those away. But oh my gosh,
it gives them that little tang.
Yeah, a little tang. You can pass the smell. It's not so bad. The left-wing politicians, the peaceful ones aren't helping the matters either. The mayor of L.A., Karen Bass, commented on these events, and that's how this went.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
So we're going to fight.
Okay, well, when you invite them all in, and I just read that 40% of all Californians are on Medi-Cal, you cannot afford that to give to all these, and they're not immigrants, they're illegal aliens,
Right.
dear.
There is a difference.
They're not here because that they were invited in, but they don't have the papers to be here.
Doesn't California have a debt now? They were kind of debt free not too long ago.
Yeah, they had a $68 billion surplus, and now they're somewhere between 40 and 50 billion in the hole. And he's asked, you need to send us some more money. No.
Well, let me play you this real quick. Tom Homan, not to be bullied, the border czar, responded to Karen Bass, and here it is.
Look, we're going to continue doing our job. And yesterday, we got 118 arrests. I was out here yesterday to kick off this operation. And what people aren't talking about is ICE served, several warrants yesterday. These were criminal warrants. This is a criminal investigation. And today, we're continuing operations. They're not going to shut us down. We're out there right now doing operations. We're going to keep doing operations. We brought in more resources to push back the protesters, but I'll say it again, a serious warning. You can protest all you want. You got your First Amendment rights. But if you cross that line of impediment, or you're putting hands on officers or destroy property, you will be prosecuted. There's zero tolerance on crossing that lines, and that's what we're standing by. We're bringing more resources as we speak. We'll have more resources tonight. We're going to continue doing the job that American people voted Donald Trump in office to do, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
So it continues out there, and today will be day 5 of these, innocently burning cars. It's just,
well, they're just having fun watching cars burn.
Exactly.
What the hell?
My God.
What?
I can't believe it came out of his mouth, and that was ABC 7, I think, out of LA. Anyway, whatever. We are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to continue on the topic of immigration. We're going to talk a little about Kilmar. So hang in there.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
The
Maryland man.
So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay connected with these guys. Email at soml@duck.com or go to the website stayoffmylawn.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Supermarket Deli Meat Slicer.
Mr. Supermarket Deli Meat Slicer.
To feed America's hunger, you stand dangerously close to a buzzsaw, armed only with a salami.
Just you and your salami.
Behind your glass fortress, you quickly fill orders as shoppers shout, "Hey, I was first."
Take a number, please.
And no matter what you're slicing, from bologna to liverwurst, you always hit your mark. 1/10 of an ounce over. So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, oh master slicer. And remember, when someone asks who cut the cheese, you can proudly say, "It was me."
Mr. Supermarket Deli Meat Slicer.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and we are very professional today, and we're gonna talk about Kilmar.
Yeah, the Maryland man, the Maryland man, the Maryland man. He's back in the bakery. The U.S.
Kilmar, I'm home. You got some splaining to do. Oh my gosh, he's
this upstanding father who's done people in and has a rap sheet that's they brought him back to the U.S. for a reason, didn't they?
Yes, they did. He's in jail in Tennessee right now, up in Tennessee. I was going to go visit him, but Chris Van Hollen's got him all booked up through the weekend. Goodness gracious. The way he looked at him when he was down there. Did you ever see any of those pictures of when they was visiting him in jail? He looked at him like a man would look at his wife after their first anniversary. It was like, with his loving eyes. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
anyway.
and he's brought back to the U.S. not because of that lovely senator either.
No, Pam Bondi, our lovely Attorney General, she gave a speech on why this poor Maryland man came back, allowed to come back. Anyway, it wasn't just to smack his wife around a little bit more. It was about other things, and she lists them off.
Such a good family man, though.
Yeah. Okay. Here's Pam listing all those things for us.
The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Abrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor. He was a smuggler of humans and children and women. He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country. MS-13 members, violent gang terrorist organization members throughout our country. Thousands of illegal aliens were smuggled. This is especially disturbing because Abrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children. The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit. There are even more disturbing facts that the grand jury uncovered. It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring. The defendant abused undocumented alien females, according to co-conspirators who were under his control while transporting them throughout our country. This defendant trafficked firearms and narcotics throughout our country on multiple occasions. They were using vehicles, SUVs, with added seats in the back, floors that had been ripped out, guns, narcotics, children, women, MS-13 members. That is what the grand jury found. A co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother.
So apparently it wasn't his mother's pupusa stand down in El Salvador that was the cause for him to come to the U.S. It was about money, just about everything else, just like everything else.
You got to get a job where you can find it, I suppose. Good Lord Almighty! It's like the headlines were, "Oh, he's back in it," and I'm not hearing anything from the left about, "Oh, hey, he's finally back," and then no, he's not.
Supposedly, there was some tweets from Van Hollen, that senator from Maryland, that trying to excuse a lot of this. Oh, it's just accusations. It's like, but I looked at his account and it was basically just saying, oh, the Trump administration is just mean. So, I mean, whatever.
They're blaming all the rioting on Trump because he brought in they were already burning cars and stuff and things were upended before anything was even sent in, but they're blaming him. They were doing that because of him.
Oh yeah, I mean, it never let any news headline go to waste. I mean, we got. I saw a meme the other day that they said, these protesters and these guys that are burning stuff and looting stores. It's like one of the safest places you can be in L.A. right now is in a bookstore. They're not going to go in there and steal that stuff. That would be they have to read. Anyway, so we'll have to.
I'm not hearing anything about, and the Maryland man is back in the U.S. today. Nope, not a word. I'm not hearing a peep. If it wasn't for all of our different sources on social media and stuff, not a word would we know anything about it. Because she went out and did this, and it's not been on anything but Fox. I've not seen her do the speech. And nobody's carrying it.
No, I had to piece that together because they wouldn't carry the whole thing all at once. I had to piece it together with 3 different clips. But but they're not even using that term Maryland man anymore. They know that's falling.
And I like that term.
I did too. It does. It reminds me of the gingerbread man, and I do miss that. I don't know, but Kilmar's got some splendid to do. So we'll
his narrative isn't fitting anymore, so he's being tossed aside like an old wet sock.
Speaking of old wet socks.
What a segue.
See?
By who says we aren't professionals?
See, we is professionals. Corinne Jean-Pierre has left the Democratic Party and is now publishing a book. I know.
I heard she was transitioning.
It's not that kind of transitioning. Yeah.
Well, that's the way it was put out there.
I know.
You go, well, it's her, and it's like, okay.
She's part of the alphabet mafia, but not that part of the alphabet. So, anyway, the book is called Independent: A Look Inside a Broken White House Outside the Party Lines. That's a mouthful. I mean, who knew she could write? I mean, I just had no idea that she can't speak very well. So, I mean, probably one of the worst. I mean, she seems like a nice enough person, but she's probably one of the worst press secretaries that we've seen in a long time. I think Bush had one, some guy, and I can't remember his name. That's how bad he was. I can't even remember what his name was, but he had a bad one too, and I can't remember. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's obvious even when you can tell. And her predecessor, Jen Psaki, wasn't very good either. I mean, she was the one with the big.
She went to MSN. Speaking of Peppermint Patty, she went to MSN, and Rachel Maddow didn't want to do a weekly show, and the numbers were kind of going crappy. So they went, you know what, Jen, why don't you take over this show? Kept the same name. I don't even remember that. I don't watch it. Never have.
I don't either.
Numbers dropped double of what Maddow had lost.
And Maddow is terrible. I mean, so that really says a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's bad. Their average ratings on a daily basis, 500,000.
Oh my goodness gracious. I heard MSNBC is even worse. I mean, that's CNN, right? Or is that MSNBC?
No, she's on MSNBC.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. They're down just absolutely atrocious numbers.
I can't believe people are even buying their advertising or buying.
Well, that's what they're running into trouble, and they're not being supported by. Well, you guys are going a down ship, and this isn't working anyway, so we're not going to give you any funds. And CNN is they've gone back to being hardcore libbies, and it's. With Tapper on there, he's just a moron.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, maybe we could advertise the podcast on MSNBC. We might be able to get like a 30-second spot for $20. I think we could.
Fire sale going. Be sure you get it before July 4th sale, because now is the time. Yeah, I don't think it's going to help.
Get your slot before Sunday. But apparently this book is about Biden's cognitive decline and the cover-up, which oddly enough, she was the biggest mouthpiece for that cover-up. So I mean,
biggest cover-up. No,
I just don't understand. We live in an upside-down world. CNN's Scott Jennings, probably the only voice of reason on that network anymore, once again saying the quiet parts about all this out loud. Here he is.
I agree with you. I don't think she will, although I would argue that it's pretty disloyal to leave the political party that gave you your biggest career shot that you've ever had. But I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think the things we've learned in the last 2 years is that the two least credible sources of information in this world are the Gaza Health Ministry and Corinne Jean-Pierre. And when she puts this book out, every single person who reads it, reviews it, or discusses it needs to remember that virtually everything she said about what was going on behind the scenes in the White House was an outright lie. And so when she puts a book out, I think we ought to treat it from a source that has a proven track record of lying from the podium of the White House to the American people.
Well, we will. That's the thing. It's like, how in the world, now all of a sudden, now I'm credible. Now you need to listen to me. I mean,
yeah. Let me see. No.
If I'm wrong, and we've done this on the podcast, if I've said something that was wrong, I'll just say, look, I said something, I spoke out of turn. I shouldn't have said that, and we don't have to do that very often because we're pretty measured on what we say. But at the same time, it's like she never apologized for lying about he's sharp as a tack. I mean, none of that has come out. Come on now.
Yeah. And the closest Tapper came for his book, which I understand is not selling well, came for his book was, well, we missed it. What? Did you have blinders on, or were you wearing the bee mask? I don't want to say what my daughter calls it, but the bee mask for night sleep? You missed it that bad? You had to be blind to miss it.
This was not a fastball at the bottom of the ninth that you missed. This was a softball coming right at you. So I don't. Whatever.
Yeah.
We all have to. I'm trying to remember what else I was going to say, and I had it, and it's gone. But anyway, you know what? We won't even fix that in post again. We never do. But anyway, mom and dad had a big fight this past weekend. Trump and Elon. Since I forgot what I was going to say, we're just going to move on to the next story. But
Mr. and Mr. President.
Yeah. I mean, I hate it when mom and dad fight. They air all their dirty laundry on social media and the whole thing. Anyway,
they both own social medias. I suppose they can trade anyway.
I suppose, but I mean, Trump, Elon owns Twitter, and he has not banned Trump from saying things bad about him. I think that speaks volumes right there. But anyway, they're having an all-out war. Supposedly, there's been an update that Elon has deleted some of his nastier tweets, the ones about Epstein and the whole thing. So hopefully things are straightening out a little bit. Let me try to see. There was I think Elon came out and said that the LA riots, that the administration's taken the right tactic on fixing that. So I mean, there's a little bit of an olive branch there, but anyway, after all this, and Trump,
might have a few thorns from like an olive tree that we have those out here, and they have thorns that are about 2.5, 3 inches long on them. So here, I'm going to extend this.
That sounds delightful. Yeah, 2.5 inches of a thorn. That sounds beautiful. But Trump said it was about the EV mandate going away, and maybe that was part of it. But it seems like Elon would have known that. I mean, that was one of the things that he ran on to get rid of that. So I don't know. But one of our favorite outspoken and incredibly smart people, Batya Ungar Sargon, I can never say that right. But she was asked about this on Megyn Kelly's show the other day. And she thinks this whole feud runs a little bit deeper than what we suspect.
Be specific about what it is Elon is or has been doing that turns you off so much.
His entire supply chain is in China. And he is unbelievably close with the CCP. Xi Jinping asked him to build a showroom for Tesla in Xinjiang, which is where the Uyghurs are being genocided, and he complied. He didn't have to do that. He's the richest man on the planet. So he has this unbelievably obsequious relationship with China, who I believe is our greatest adversary. I don't see how you can truly be an American patriot when you have to bend the knee to China and have proven willing to bend the knee to China over and over again. He's such a maverick on Twitter when it comes to American politics, but he has never once said a negative word about the CCP, which of course engages in tons and tons of, human rights violations, the genocide of the Uyghurs, and of course undermines America at every turn that it can. The way that he related to American workers over the H-1B visa squabble over Christmas, when he literally endorsed a tweet calling Americans retarded, I really, really, really didn't like that. I don't think he has the same values as the MAGA movement. He's not religious. He has this kind of transhumanist view. He thinks that Americans are going to be, people are going to become computerized and that intelligence is going to be machine made. All of this stuff for me really puts him at odds with the values of the MAGA movement.
She knew a whole lot more about Elon than I did. All I know is what's kind of projected out there. So that's all some interesting information.
Yeah, and there's been some others that have went, really, is this really a feud? Because they've known each other. They knew that, he was not, like she was saying, MAGA material, but he was supporting stuff and brought in a brainiac team to go through all this stuff in the government, and they are finding where things went, how they got there, and these guys who had that were dipping in the old U.S. aid pond, shall we say, are going, who was it? Was it Kerry that? They found out that it was Comey. That's who it was, who got a bid from him, and he approved to him from himself for $16 million. It's
that doesn't sound corrupt at all.
Somebody goes, how did this work? And he just went on and just ignored the question, went right on. Somebody else asked something.
That's what they do, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't even acknowledge him, it didn't even exist. Really? You approved $16 million to yourself.
Yeah, that kind of corruption is getting weeded out. Now, the Doge team is still working, right? Even though Elon's kind of stepped away?
Yes, they are still working.
Okay. Well, that's good.
My favorite member of the team, Big Balls, is still there. So
you just like his name. You wanted that name, and it's already been taken. So, I mean,
I tried.
It's your problem. Anyway, moving on. This past weekend we did the Republican convention for the state of Georgia, and this is the first time we've done anything like that. It was interesting, fun, and a little concerning. Because people are strange. Sometimes they really are. I mean, Republicans are no different than Democrats. Sometimes they're a bunch of whiny people, and it drives me crazy. But sometimes it's tough to see a lot of hope for the future because so many young people have been indoctrinated by their universities or whatever across Europe and North America both. But after attending this, we saw a lot of the whining. There was people that got up there. They had 4 microphones set up there when we were going to do the vote on Saturday, and we were voting in the officers and everything, and people were up there at the microphone just complaining about everything. It's like, well, if somebody said something nice about our candidate that it wasn't. It's like, what is wrong with you people? I felt like I could have been at a Democratic convention because I'm sure that there's a lot more of that goes on. But that being said, I was encouraged by one young man who ran for and won the assistant secretary position. He actually came around and shook my hand beforehand. I had not known about him prior. But anyway, he went up there and gave a speech. And it was probably the best speech of the day. Him and Buddy Carter, who's actually going to be running against John Ossoff in the Senate race next year. They both gave excellent speeches. I don't have Buddy Carter's speech, but I do have Jaquan. His name is Jaquan Stembridge. He was fantastic. He did the typical, like I said, he made his rounds talking to people, and he's just a nice kid. But he's 18 years old. Keep that in mind when you hear this speech. He is absolutely incredible. So here's that.
I got involved in politics in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic because I saw just how bad government overreach can be on your life. I grew up an only child in a single-parent household in a Democrat household, so I was always taught that the Republican Party was the party of rich white men and cared nothing about people that looked like me. Well, during COVID, I was able to see that was far from the truth. But now I'm going to be your assistant secretary because, folks, the fact of the matter is, it is time to give young people and Gen Z a seat at the table. We are in the fight of our lives for conservatism. Don't you sit back and think for 1 second that just because President Trump just won a huge election, that everything's going to be fine. The Democrats are already going to the high school campuses. They're going to the college campuses. They are indoctrinating an entire generation of voters. And what are we doing about it? Absolutely nothing. We need to follow in the footsteps of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And my friends, Ronald Reagan was right. We need to do the things that Ronald Reagan did. Bring our message to college campuses. Bring our message to high school campuses. Meet my generation right where they are and show my generation that conservatism still works. And who is better to bring that message to my generation than someone from my generation? So over the last 3 months, I've had the opportunity to meet so many of you, to hear all of your stories and to hear about what made you become a conservative. My goal now is to make sure that we can bring that message to my community and to the young people so we can show them why our party is so good and not just why the Democrats are so bad. My goal now also is to grow the party. We need to have an ambassador to young people, an ambassador who will go to the black community and tell them what we stand for. This is the secretary to be someone who is ready to put in the work and get the job done. And over the last 3 months, I've shown you that I am ready to work. I will do whatever I can to help get quality conservatives elected. So I would be honored to have your vote if you're ready to become the party of the future and stop being the grand old party of the past. I'm Jay Carson.
Anyway, I apologize how bad that sounded, and I may have to send that to you so you can plug.
You
that
may
in.
have to, because I could hear little bits and pieces because it was like, what?
Zoom is terrible about that. It cuts off all this audio, and it's it's probably bad enough on my end. So I'll send that to you after we're done here.
Okay, I'll put that in that segment of sound.
Yeah, and so anyway, we're up against a break again. When we come back, we're going to hear from another young person. This time, it's somebody from Europe, and they have a similar message. So it's pretty encouraging. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
You know, I have people, lots of people, practically everyone asks me to say hi to Mike and Richard for them. They're great guys. The greatest, you might say.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and we're almost done. We're gonna to give you even more hope for the future. This time, it's in Europe. It's not just some of the American youth that's waking up. It's actually some of the young people over in Europe. They're seeing some of the same crap that we're seeing, and they're waking up too. This is 28-year-old Eva Vlarding-Broek. She's I've
Good luck with that. I'm not saying that last name.
If she comes to the house and cusses me out, and that's just the way that goes.
So bright.
She's a Dutch political activist and explaining very well the way the leftists of today are more dishonest than ever. Here she is.
Democracy is dead. Stone cold dead. The illusion of democracy is very much kept alive. We are being ruled by leaders who claim that they are democratic leaders, and they force us to play along with their games. In fact, many people do so happily. And that is what made mandate hearing worse than what we see in the history book. In the DD, government was listening in on you. In the USSR, you at least knew that going against the government could end you in the gulags. In Mao Zedong's China, going against the government was something that surely would have you met with violence. But make no mistake, being a dissident now is just as dangerous as it was back then. Our regime uses pretty words to hide their intentions, but they pervert and invert our definitions all the time. They say that to maintain peace in Europe, we need to go to war with Russia. They say that to protect democracy, we have to ban right-wing parties. And they say that to safeguard freedom of speech, they need to censor disinformation. Just like in Orwell's 1984, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
Boy, she knows her stuff. I don't know what happened to that clip, but it didn't sound like that when I recorded it, so I have no idea.
It did a blippy. I don't think we missed anything that I can remember.
No, I don't think so either.
When I heard it, but it's it's all this just like our favorite you know the Maryland man? Yeah. Oh, he's a Maryland man who's you mean not the criminal that's yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those things that you zoom out a little bit, and that's what a lot of these young people are finally starting to do. Instead of just believing everything that's told to them in universities or from politicians at podiums, they're actually thinking for themselves. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, the indoctrination centers, as they have been called, because, well, they are, there are several right now I was reading about that are about to close the doors. People go, one, can't afford this, and two, it's all BS anyway. Yeah. So it's going that way.
I think Trump said he wasn't going to give any more funding to Harvard, and of course, some of their responses are, well, what about all the research and all the funding? It's like, do you know how much money they have in reserves? I forgot what the word for that is, but they have
endowment.
Endowment, that's the word. But they've got like, $50 million.
Yeah, 50 billion.
Is it billion? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, it's in the billions, pal. It's way up there.
They're not going
to got lots. So why are we giving them $4 billion a year if you have funds that
to teach kids to hate America? And that's it's not just picking on Harvard. A lot of them do this.
Boise State was having an issue, and they brought this lady in. Her last name was Trump, not Trump. Trump, as in Trump.
Yeah.
She just left of her own accord, resigned, and went to Vermont to a much smaller university. She did a lateral move to just get out of town.
Wow.
She was not liked at all. At my granddaughter's graduation, she got booed.
Was she doing some of this indoctrination stuff?
Oh, she came from Berkeley. So would you like to?
There you go.
It's like, you hired someone. What? Yeah, it was not working out. She was as phony as a $3 bill.
It's one thing to come from California, but if you come from the University of California at Berkeley, come on now. I mean, that's got to be the most left-leaning school in the country. I mean, that's what it's famous for.
Been that way for as long as I can remember. In the 60s, that's where they had all kinds of things going on.
I know. They had it was like Kent State, everything's just terrible. If you don't remember the Kent State thing, then look it up, Google it. Anyway.
If only there was a device that could help you out.
I know. There's got to be something out there. So anyway, the youth is actually waking up. It's a good thing. While in our humble opinions, Paul Harvey has always seemed to be one of the most honest and decent people in American media history anyway. And part of that is the honesty. He used to call out BS. He used to, it was normal, everyday Americans could relate to him. I mean, that's why he was so popular.
Well, and his integrity level, like you're saying, was just off the charts. It was like, if I don't know it and I can't find the research to double verify someone's what they've said, he just flat wouldn't report on it. It's like, no, I don't think that's real, and he just didn't.
That kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. I mean, I don't know if you. Speaking of that, real quick, let's go to this. Did you see that Terry Moran? Remember Terry Moran interviewed President Trump a few weeks ago?
Oh yeah.
Did you see that he
with
just
ABC?
He just got suspended.
Yes, he did. Saying some things, and they went, "No, we're tired of paying for all these lawsuits for." They just settled one with Trump.
I know
for $15 million, and they go, "No, we're not doing that again."
I heard somebody argue for him, and I'm going to read you the tweet here in a second. But the people are arguing, well, people give their opinions all the time, and it's not a huge deal. It is a huge deal because he's considered a journalist. ABC, CBS, NBC, they should be, or they at least tout themselves as being middle of the road. We're just going to give you information.
Yeah. Journalist. I don't think they actually know what that word really means.
No. I think it was Saturday night, I'm sorry, 12:30 in the morning, which would have been Sunday. He tweeted this. This is the thing about Stephen Miller, who is the associate chief of staff for President Trump. He said the thing about Stephen Miller is not that he's the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what is interesting about Miller. It's not brains, it's bile. Miller is the man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He is a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him, because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment, and he eats his hate. Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred is only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That is his spiritual nourishment. I mean, they took some time coming up with this.
Yeah.
My goodness.
He's a hater, because you mean he corrects people when they are saying something that's you got to let me finish. I'm going to give you a little lesson in how the government works. And he talks to them like they're 3-year-olds because that's what they deserve to be talked to like, because they don't seem to get it. And that makes him a hater when you are called out on the carpet and told what you're saying is a giant pile of, it's a porcelain bowl filled with flushable sewage is what it is.
Human manure, I think it was. You could put it that way. I think he's still licking his wounds from the way Trump talked to him during that interview. I picked you because I've never heard of you. He's been with ABC since 97.
And you're not doing really well in this interview either.
No, he did not. He was right. But I think they don't like Stephen Miller because, he's a little quirky. I'll give him quirky. But man, he's like one of the smartest people that you've seen on TV in a long, long time. I mean, you can't take that away from him.
I love how this administration is calling out the folks that are trying to push a narrative and push the propaganda, and he just puts a halt to it.
Right.
Stop it.
Absolutely. And so the opposite end of the spectrum of Terry Moran is Paul Harvey. And so here he is talking about something from this speech in 1992. And this is a little bit about the way the climate change thing came to light from back then.
Barely a week goes by, but what some researcher tries to scare us or trick us out of research money by claiming that the sky is falling. And with the willing complicity of headline-hungry media, a recent crisis of the month had to do with global warming. An ozone hole is opening up over the United States, we were told, the effects of which were already measurable in an increase in skin cancer. On the contrary, destroying chlorine around the polar vortex has been declining since January. A major objective of a recent shuttle mission was to determine the scope and scale of the so-called ozone hole, and the silence since has been deafening from those whose livelihood depends on creating crises. Recent data from the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellites affirms that any problem is less, it's not greater. Ozone levels fluctuate all of the time, partly because of volcanic activity and solar flares. But MIT's Technology Review has made an exhaustive study of worldwide ocean temperatures since 1851, has concluded that there appears to have been little or no global warming over the past century. In fact, the net rise in world surface temperature during the last century, which was about 1%, almost all occurred before 1940, and that was before aerosols, and that has since been reversed. Former NASA chief Robert Jastrow and former Scripps director William Nierenberg, past president of the American Academy of Sciences, Frederick Seitz, all have concluded in a scathing rebuke of those who make money by predicting global warming, quote, if we allow ourselves to be influenced by press release, we could spend $1 trillion over the next decade destroying what's left of the American economy.
And that's exactly what we're seeing.
It's not any different now.
Nope.
Like I've said, 9 out of 10 scientists agree with whoever's paying for their research. So, I mean, it's give me a break. It really hasn't changed. Like I say, if you played that now, they would think you're talking about now. I mean, that was back in the days where anything that was in a spray can got banned because it had chlorofluorocarbons in it.
Yep.
And I lost my Aquanet. I just can't start my hair.
I don't need it anymore. So, I mean, actually, to hold the 3 hairs that I have left in place, sometimes I'll use it. But yeah. But, that's the way you used to get the spiders off the wall. You would just kind of like hold the lighter up there. You get the June bugs in midair. Sometimes that was really fun. But anyway, listen to Paul Harvey, and again, I'm just always blown away at how good his delivery is. Again, when somebody knows how to give a speech and knows how to talk, oh my gosh! I mean, and we do this for a living, but we record ourselves, and it's just different. These people do it in front of tens of thousands of people, and they just do it so well. I'm always in Jaquan.
Well, he would be on a mic in the studio in front of millions of people.
That's
I mean,
true.
he was listened to. He was my lunchtime buddy on the route. It's like, I got to get this town done because I got about another 15 minute drive to the next town. I would eat my lunch while I'm driving down the road listening to Paul Harvey, and it would just ruin my day if I got held up somewhere up the line and went, crap, I'm 5 minutes behind. I'm going to miss the first part of Paul Harvey. It was just really depressing.
My buddy David Reed and I were talking about this. He lives up in North Carolina. Him and I served together at Pope Air Force Base, and that's what we would stop. If we weren't in the middle of something, we would stop everything and listen to the noon news from Paul Harvey. It was always on at 12 o'clock. And it was just, I don't know. And we didn't even think about it too much at the time, but it's become so iconic in our memory now. Anyway, but
and the rest of the story, the stations that in high school and stuff, because he was on in our house in the morning.
Yeah.
When I was a kid going to school, and I didn't start walking or running because I'd be late to school we lived about 6 blocks away until Paul Harvey was over. I'm not leaving till he was done. I don't know why, but I just found him intriguing as a high school kid.
Still, some things never change.
It just doesn't.
If you send me something of his, I can't just listen to part of it. Oh, I'll listen to it later. I got to sit there and finish it. It's like, somebody's drowning in the pool in the backyard. I'm still like, just hang on a second. Anyway.
Well, they're already drowned. I'll get them off the bottom in a minute.
I mean, I got the scooper. It's going to be okay. And of course, 33 years later, we're still fighting the same money-hungry monsters that are purporting this whole climate change crap. But here's another recent statement. This one put out by the Heartland Institute, and this was, I think, in February. So here's that.
We're going to look critically at the claim that recent years represent the hottest period in the last 125,000 years, an idea the mainstream media has been promoting heavily. Anyone with a background in geology or scientific disciplines that study ancient temperature and climate reconstructions will probably perk their ears a bit at that claim. It has been long established by scientific data that present temperatures are cool compared to the last 10,000 years, and for most of the time period that human civilization has existed. A peer-reviewed study published in Science reconstructed temperatures back 11,300 years, confirming what's found in ice core data. Most of that period was hotter than today, in what was known as the Holocene climatic optimum, or maximum, versus today's neoglacial period. Even in the 1990s, when the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was getting started in earnest, they agreed that both the Holocene maximum and what's called the medieval warm period were warmer than today. When you go back further to over 10,000 years ago, we were clawing our way out of an ice age, and further back we were in the Pleistocene, a period where at its coldest, ice sheets covered New York and Chicago. It shouldn't be surprising that it's warmer today. Separate studies using different proxies to estimate ancient temperatures agree on these broad points. So people making the claim that it's unprecedentedly warm today need to explain how all of that previous science was wrong. Credible, long-established evidence indicates that today is far from the hottest in the past 125,000 years.
And of course, money had to have been exchanged in order to put this narrative out there.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous with all the stuff. And they keep trying to push it and nobody's believing it anymore. In fact, Greta Thunberg has moved on to supporting the Palestinians.
Yeah,
and that's not going well for her either.
Yeah, she had that Gaza flotilla that got intercepted, and she took a selfie of herself, or a self video of herself, when the Israelis got on the boat and picked everybody up. I'm being kidnapped by the Israelis. Oh my goodness.
Oh Lord,
That
she
poor
is
girl.
a permanent victim of whatever she wants to be a victim of, I guess. It's like, give me a break.
That is exactly
But yeah,
right.
it wasn't long ago, it's several thousand years back, there were hippopotamus in England.
Yeah.
Well, they can't survive there very well. It's cold. Well, it wasn't then.
I know. But nobody wants to talk about that. And you find all these reliefs of like pineapples and things where should be no pineapples. It's like in Finland or something. It's incredible. It really.
Well, they find all kinds of brontosaurus bones and mammoth and all that kind of stuff in Montana.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, they ain't gonna live there too good this time around.
And you know, I had one of my wife's lefty friends said something. You don't believe in climate change, like I didn't believe in cars. It's like she just looked at me like so incredulously, and I'm like,
no, I do believe in it because the climate does change.
It always
just
changes.
this is normal for Earth. Sorry,
I
this
don't
blue
think-
ball.
Yeah, I don't think we're affecting it like you think. And I said, plus, it's like, why would it not be warmer if you go back? And I think I threw something at her because she's educated. You know, I hear that so much. Well, you know, you're not as educated as I am, and that's fine. I'm not. No doubt. But I mean, go back 12,800 years ago. What did we have? She looked at me like I said something in a different language. 12,800 years ago. What was going on then? She goes, I don't know. I said, it was the Ice Age. She goes, oh. I said, would we not be warmer than it was then? She was like, moved on to a different subject.
Because all they're doing is talking about what's happening now. Well, this little blue ball going around the sun has been there for like 1 billion years, and it's had a change or two.
Yeah, and it's always going to be changing. So that's just the way it is. So anyway, we do have this palate cleanser. This is from a few years ago. Richard sent this to me. It's a valedictorian at a place called the King's Academy in West Palm Beach. This is Kyle Martin gave this speech. You want to talk about it before we?
We seem to be on a youth kick this week, but an 18-year-old was valedictorian of his class and talking all about it, and then had a perspective about that fact and about life and maybe where you should be headed and what you should be thinking about, and not just, yay, I made it. Okay, now what?
He's wise beyond his years for sure.
Oh, boy, I mean, 18-year-old kids giving these speeches and stuff, very impressive nowadays.
It really is. So here we go.
I stand before you tonight as the 2019 valedictorian. This time last year, I found out that I was in the running for this title. It was then that I decided I wanted it. So, I worked hard for it. I sacrificed for it. And yes, I stressed for it. And I got it. And at our senior awards ceremony, it felt so good when I heard my name announced with this title. It's so good. For about 15 seconds. Yeah, 15 seconds of my heart racing and my adrenaline pumping. 15 seconds of, yeah, I won. 15 seconds of being at the top of the pile of all my accomplishments, and it felt euphoric. But there must come a 16th second. And on that 16th second, I sat down in my seat, I looked at my silver stole that says valedictorian, and I thought, that's it? What just happened? Why am I not feeling anything else? To be honest, I don't even know what I was expecting. A parade of balloons to drop? Or maybe I was hoping that all of my problems would fade away in comparison to this amazing achievement. But none of that happened, not even in my heart. I felt nothing. I was shocked. This was a huge problem for me, and I needed to figure out why. So here was my thought process. Working hard is good, but it should not be done for the sole purpose of a goal's sake at the expense of relationship with others. And looking back on this year, I realized that the stress of this year for this goal in a 5-minute speech was paid for with the lack of attending to relationships in my life. A lesson learned and self-reflection accomplished. Now, I would like you, my fellow classmates, to do some self-reflecting. I would like you to take a moment to fill in a different thing that you strive for and you focused on. Something that you thought was the end-all, be-all. Perhaps it was sports. Perhaps it was fine arts, academics, getting into a particular school, an unhealthy social life. Friends, we are about to launch into life, and we haven't messed anything up yet. Now think, instead of academics taking your focus off your important relationships, it was your career you chose over your spouse. Instead of sports, it's money that you pursue at the detriment of your children. Instead of just the Instagram-worthy picture, it's striving to be famous at the expense of time with your friends because now you're too self-involved. I'm well aware that this is kind of a downer speech, but I don't care. Because a lesson learned should be a lesson shared. Now, I'm glad that I've only made this mistake of striving for something that is in the light of eternity, not important, for just 1 year. I can't imagine if I had learned this at 50 or at the end of my life. Here's the lesson. Have no regrets in the 16th second. Nothing is more important than your healthy relationships. Nothing. Not your goals, not your successes. And here's why. Relationships are where we get to influence, impact, and change people's lives. Your life cannot be meaningful without them. Now, we are put on this earth by our Creator, and we all have a purpose. Now, how we all go about that, that's what's different. It's different in what college we choose, who we marry, and what career we choose. It's different in the triumphs and tragedies that come upon us. But in all those things, new relationships are being formed. So be generous with your time and money, and a lot of relational issues will be resolved. And by the way, it's not too late to mend fractured relationships. Any friends you haven't spoken to in a while because of your pride, parents whom you disrespected, and teachers who you never thanked. Just do it. Humble yourself. Start a conversation. Have no regrets in the 16th second.
Wow. He's got a lot of wisdom for 18
I'd
years
just
old.
say that's about as dead on as it gets. I know there was a time in my life and trying to keep key performance indicator numbers at 100 and did it for 4 years in a row. That was all I did was work 12 plus hours every single day and was too tired on Saturday to do much of anything. And then my girls wanted me to coach softball.
Yeah.
So I did that for 2 different years and I didn't work as hard.
Good.
My numbers weren't as good. And I didn't really care.
KPIs be damned. Who cares at that point?
Yep.
Yeah, you're and I kind of got that way too. I was working a lot of overtime when my son was little, and he didn't see me as much, and my wife didn't see me as much, and it did. I mean, you pay for those things eventually, and you have to have those hard conversations and humble yourself and go, I screwed up. I need to reprioritize. And man, that's I don't know how he got so much wisdom in 18 years to know that. It took me a lot longer than that. So
yeah,
I
I
may
get
not
into
even be
something
there yet.
and I go whole hog.
Yeah.
And I go like doing the stuff for the seniors and doing a play. It's like, okay, well, we only have 10 days of rehearsals and then we have about 3 weeks but that's almost a month and a half. Just, I don't see anybody else. I don't get to do anything else. I'm trying to learn lines, taking care of the house, and then I drive into town. And I'm just almost to the point where I got asked to do another one, but I was taking care of my wife with her last full knee replacement. And it's like, it's a lot of effort and a lot of work. And I do so enjoy entertaining the seniors, but you do nothing else.
Yeah.
You get to do nothing. So.
Yeah. And you know, but like you said, you have your wife. She's number one in your life as she should be, just like mine is mine. I mean, so even above my granddaughters, I love my granddaughters like more than I love myself. So I mean, but you know, you have to prioritize, and I think that you need to take that deep breath. It's really good stuff. Anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now get your mouse in the right spot. Or you know what, with all this stuff and where to find it, and sometimes it's difficult, just go to our good old website at stayoffmylawn.us.
There we go. We'll see you next week, folks.
So thanks so much for listening. Bye. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.